Daf Yomi, ay, ay, ay. Daf Yomi, Tractate Shevuos, page 40. A, top of the page, with the words Teda, Dika, Tani, Sefa. Dinar zahav li biadecha. Ein lecha biadi ela dinar kesef utreisi tu pundion pruta chayov shakol min matbea achasein. יעמד בשלום ישב משום הכי חייב, אלא יעמד דווקא מה חייב. The Gemara discusses the basis for Rav's explanation. Know that the Mishnah is referring to claims of monetary value, as it teaches in the latter clause that the claimant said, I have a gold dinar in your possession. And the defendant responded, you only have a silver dinar, or a tresit, or a pundion, or a pruta in my possession. He is liable to take an oath, as they are all of one type. They are all coins. Granted, if you say that the claim was for the value of a gold dinar, it is due to the reason that he is liable to take an oath, as he admitted to part of the claim. But if you say that the claim was specifically for a dinar of gold, why is he liable? The claim was for gold, and he admitted to owing silver or copper. On my own, I would just think he admitted to something, so I think that's enough. But apparently, they're saying it's different here. That's their question. The Gemara rejects this proof. Rabbi Elazar says this mission is referring to a case where one claimed that the defendant owes him a dinar of coins, meaning a coin's worth a dinar. The claim was for specific coins and not a monetary value. Since the claim concerned coins and not a specific weight of metal, and all coins are used for commercial transactions, all types of coins are considered of the same type. And it teaches us that a pruta is included in the category of a coin. According to this explanation, the language of the Mishnah is also precise, as it teaches the defendant is liable to take an oath as they are all of one type. They are all coins. In other words, even a pruta is a type of coin. The Gemara asks, and how Rav, who holds that the claim in this case was for the value of a dinar, explain the fact that the Mishnah states, as they are all of one type, they are all coins. Why does it matter that they are all of one type? The Gemara answers that, according to Rav, the reason the defendant is liable to take an oath is that because the claim is for the value of a dinar, all descriptions of monetary value based on different coins have one status under halakha. They are all coins, and it is of no significance that they are made of different materials. The Gemara asks, and concerning the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, shall we say that since he explains the latter clause in the Mishnah as referring to a specific item and not a value, in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel, and also with regard to the former clause that states the claim must be for 2 silver ma'ah, he apparently holds in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel, meaning that it is referring to 2 actual ma'ah and not the value of 2 ma'ah. Lo. Sefer dafka, diktani shakon min matbea achad, v'reish karav o k'Shmuel. The Gemara rejects this suggestion. No, Rabbi Elazar explains that the latter clause of the Mishnah is referring specifically to actual items in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel, as it teaches explicitly, as they are all of one type, they are all coins. But the former clause can be interpreted either in accordance with the opinion of Rav or in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel. Toshima, come in here. A proof that a claim for a coin is referring to its value. Tashma dinar zahav zahu li biyadecha ein lecha biyadi al dinar kesef chayav. Time medamale zahav zahu Hastama shavek amale. The Gemara suggests coming here another proof that a claim for a coin is referring to its value. It is taught in a Braita that if the claimant said, I have a coined gold dinar in your possession, and the defendant responded, you only have a silver dinar in my possession, he is liable to take an oath as the claim and the admission are both referring to a coin. The Gemara infers the reason for this claim is referring specifically to a coin is that the claimant says to him, you owe me a coined gold dinar, but if the claim was for an unspecified gold dinar, meaning without specifying that it was coined, the claimant is saying to him that he owes him an item with the value of a dinar, not necessarily a coin, in accordance with the opinion of Rav. Amar Ashi Hachi Kamar Kol Ha'omer Dinar Zahav Ka'omer Dinar Zahav Zahuv Dami. Rav Ashi said in response that according to the opinion of Shmuel, this is what the Braita is saying. Anyone who says a gold dinar is considered like one who says a coined gold dinar, meaning he's referring to the coin and not to its value. Tane Rav Chia Lisayoe L'Rav Sela Libiadecha Ein Lecha Biadi Ela Sela Chaser Shtei Kesef Chayav Chaser Ma'a Patur. Rav Chia teaches a Braita in support of the opinion of Rav. If the claimant said, I have a sela in your possession, and the defendant responded, you have only a sela minus 2 silver ma'ah in my possession, he is liable to take an oath. If the defendant responded, I owe you only a sela minus 1 silver ma'ah, he is exempt. Clearly the reason is that he denied less than 2 ma'ah of the claim, in accordance with the opinion of Rav. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Amar Shmuel, Lo yishanu ela b'tanis malveh v'haidas leveh. Aval tanis malveh v'haidas eid echad afilu lota no ela b'pruta chaya. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says that Shmuel says the requirement that the claim be at least the value of 2 silver ma'ah to render the defendant liable to take an oath was taught only with regard to a case where the oath is due to the claim of the creditor and the partial admission of the debtor, but in a case where the defendant's liability to take an oath is due to the claim of the creditor and the testimony of one witness is in support of the claim, even the claimant claimed from him only 1 pruta, the defendant is liable to take an oath. My time, dichtiv lo yakum. Ein echad beish lechol avon ulechol chatat lechol avon ulechol chatat hu de'enu kam aval kam hu lishvu'a b'tanya kol makom sheshnayim mechayvin oto mamon al ein echad mechayvo shevu'a. What is the reason for this distinction? As is written, one witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin, Deuteronomy 19:15. It is inferred from here that it is for any iniquity or for any sin that he may not rise up, as the testimony of one witness is not enough for this purpose, but he may rise up to render one liable to take an oath, and it is taught in Braita, in any place where 2 witnesses render a defendant liable to pay money, the testimony of one witness renders him liable to take an oath. Therefore, since 2 witnesses render the defendant liable to pay if the claim is worth at least 1 pruta, so too 1 witness renders him liable to take an oath with regard to a claim of this value. And Rav Nachman says that Shmuel says, if one claimed that another owed him wheat and barley, and the defendant admitted to owing him one of these types, he is liable to take an oath as he admitted to part of the claim. Amar lo Rabbi Yitzchak Yasher Yoshar V'chein Amar Rabbi Yochanan Niklal L'Plig Oleh Resh Lakish Ikidamri mishaha hava shahe le v'shatikle ikadamri nishta hava shteile ushatikle. Rabbi Yitzchak said to him, "You have spoken well." And so also said Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara asks by inference, does this mean that Reish Lakish disagrees with Rabbi Yochanan with regard to this matter? Since Rabbi Yitzchak mentioned that Rabbi Yochanan agreed and did not reference Reish Lakish, who often engages in disputes with Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara answers there is no record of Reish Lakish expressing his opinion at that time. There are those who say that this is because he was tarrying and remaining silent, waiting for Rabbi Yochanan to finish his statement, and Rabbi Yitzchak did not find out whether or not he subsequently disagreed with him. And there are those who say that Reish Lakish was drinking at the time, and he was therefore remained silent and did not respond to Rabbi Yochanan's statement. Oh, maybe he wasn't drinking alcohol, he was drinking something. Anyways, Leima Messiah Tano Chitin Haiden Lo Visoirin Pato Rabban Gamliel Michaya Tama de Tano Chitin Haiden Lo Visoirin Hachitin Soirin Haiden Lo Viacham Mehen Chaya. Let us say that the wording of the Mishnah supports Shmuel's opinion. If one claimed that another owes him wheat and the defendant admitted to owing him barley, he is exempt. Rabban Gamliel deems him liable to take an oath. The Gemara infers the reason he is exempt according to the first Tana is that he claimed that he owes him wheat and the defendant admitted to owing him barley. But if the claim was for both wheat and barley and the defendant admitted to owing him one of them, it can be inferred that he is liable to take an oath. Okay? La. Hu hadin afilu chitin so'er nami pato. V'hayin dekamiflig chitin hodiacha kocho deraban gamliel. The Gemara rejects this proof. No. It is possible that the same is true, meaning that even if the claim was for both wheat and barley, the defendant is exempt, and the fact that the Mishnah states that the first Tana and Rabban Gamliel disagree with regard to a case where the claim was specifically for wheat and the defendant admitted to owing him barley, is in order to convey to you the far-reaching nature of the opinion of Rabban Gamliel that the defendant is liable to take an oath even if his admission is not at all the same type as the claim. Tashima ta'ano kelim v'karkois. The Gemara suggests, coming here another proof from the Mishnah. If one claimed that another owes him vessels and land, and the defendant admitted to owing him vessels but denied the claim of land, or conversely, if he admitted to owing him land but he denied the claim of vessels, he is exempt from taking an oath. And now we turn to Daf Mem Amud Beis 40b and take a brief interlude, brief recess. That's a good one. Let's take a brief recess, court. Vital. We are on the top of 40b, right? If he admitted to part of the claim about the land, he is exempt. If he admitted to part of the claim about the vessels, he is liable to take an oath. The Gemara infers the reason he is exempt from the first cases is that the claim was for vessels and land. As a claim with regard to land is not subject to an oath. But if the claim was for vessels of one type and vessels of another type, or for wheat and barley, similar to the case of a claim for vessels and land, in that the defendant admitted to owing one type and denied owing the other type, he is liable to take an oath. Hu hadin. Dafilu kelim v'chelim nami patu v'kelim shoinim. Same to right now. Hu hadin dafilu kelim v'chelim nami patu. The Gemara rejects the inference. No, it is possible that the same is true, meaning that even if the claim was for vessels of one type and vessels of another type, and the defendant admitted to owning one type and denied owning the other type, he is exempt. And the reason that the Mishnah teaches specifically the case where the claim is for vessels and land is that this teaches us that in a case where the defendant admitted to a part of the claim with regard to the vessels, he's liable to take an oath concerning the land as well. My kamashmalan zoikikin tanina zoikikin esanichosim sheish lahen achayos yishamarin. The Gemara asks, what is this teaching us? Does it teach the halacha that an admission to a part of the claim about vessels also binds the land to the oath? We learn this in a Mishnah in Tractate Kiddushin, page 26a. When there's a claim against a person for movable property and land, and he is liable to take an oath concerning the movable property binds the property that serves as a guarantee, meaning the land, so that he is forced to take an oath concerning it too. The Gemara answers, this Mishnah is the primary reference to this halacha, as it discusses the halacha of oaths, whereas that Mishnah cites it incidentally in the context of a broader survey of the difference between these two types of property. And Rabbi Chia bar Abba disagrees with Shmuel and says that Rabbi Yochanan says if one claimed that another owes him both wheat and barley, and the latter admitted to owing him one of them, he's exempt from taking an oath. Rabbi Yochanan says if one claimed that another owes him wheat and barley, and he later admitted to owing him one of them, he's exempt from taking an oath. The Gemara asks, but doesn't Rabbi Yitzchak say to Rav Nachman, you have spoken well in the name of Shmuel, meaning in saying that the defendant is liable to take an oath in the aforementioned case. And so, also said Rabbi Yochanan, if so, Rabbi Yochanan agrees with Shmuel, and not with Rabbi Yechia bar Abba. The Gemara answers they are Amoraim, and they disagree with regard to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. Tashima ta'anochi tinodalo v'soirin pato Rabban Gamliel mechayav ta'ama Ta'anochi tinodalo v'soirin Achi tinosoirin v'hodalo v'echad me'en chayav. The Gemara suggests, come and hear a proof against the opinion of Rabbi Chia bar Abba from the Mishnah. If one claims that another owes him wheat, and the defendant admitted to owing him barley, he is exempt. And Rabban Gamliel being seen liable to take an oath. The Gemara infers the reason he's exempt is that he claimed that he owes him wheat, and the defendant admitted to owing him barley. But if the claim was for both wheat and barley, and the defendant admitted to owing him one of them, he would be liable to take an oath. Hu adin. The Gemara rejects this proof. It is possible that the same is true, meaning that even if the claim was for both wheat and barley, the defendant is exempt. And the fact that the Mishnah teaches specifically this case, where the claim was specifically for wheat, is in order to convey to you the far-reaching nature of the opinion of Rabban Gamliel, as he holds that even in this case, one is liable to take an oath. Toshima, Tano Kedim Mikalkois, Yoid B'chein B'chfar Mikalkois, Mikalkois Yochal B'cheinim Pato, Hoda B'mixas Gaga Pato, B'mixas Kedim Chayav, Ta'amad B'chein Mikalkois, Mikalkanav Bas, Shevuos, Ha Kelim B'chelim, Dum Yod B'chelim Mikalkois Chayav. The Gemara suggests, coming here, another proof from the Mishnah. If one claimed that another owes him vessels and land, and the defendant admitted to owing him vessels but denied the claim of land, or if he admitted to owing him land but denied the claim of vessels, he's exempt from taking an oath. If he admitted to part of the claim with regard to land, he's exempt. If he admitted to part of the claim with regard to the vessels, he is liable to take an oath. The Gemara infers the reason he is exempt in the first cases is that the claim was for vessels and land, as the claim with regard to land is not subject to an oath. But if the claim was for vessels of one type and vessels of another type, similar to the case of a claim for vessels and land, in that the defendant admitted to owing one type and denied owing another type, he is liable to take an oath. Who I didn't feel okay to make another puzzle. We all go watch one. The oidum exas kelim chayav. אבל הקלקויס, מייקל משמעון זוקי קינטנינה, זוקי קירס החלסים, שיש לו אחרייס לשאול עליהם, העיקר, ההיא, אגב, גרע, נעספו. The Gemara rejects this. It is possible that the same is true, that even if the claim was for vessels of one type and vessels of another type, he's exempt. And the Mishnah teaches specifically the case where the claim is for vessels and land, because this teaches us that if the defendant admitted to a part of the claim with regards to the vessels, he's liable to take an oath concerning land as well. The Gemara asks, what is this teaching us? Does it teach the halacha that an admission to part of the claim about vessels also binds the land to the oath? We learned this in a Mishnah in Tractate Kedushin 26a. The movable property binds the property that serves as a guarantee, so that he is forced to take an oath concerning it too. The Gemara answers this Mishnah is the primary reference to this halacha, whereas that Mishnah cites it incidentally. Rabbi Abba Bar Mamo raised an objection to the opinion of Rabbi Bar Abba from a brisa. If one claimed that another owes him an ox, and the latter admitted to owing him a sheep, or conversely, if the claim was for a sheep, and the defendant admitted to owing him an ox, he is exempt from taking an oath. If one claimed that another owes him an ox and a sheep, and the defendant admitted to owing him one of them, he is liable to take an oath. Rabbi said to him, in response, in accordance with whose opinion is this brayta? It is in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Gamliel, who deems the defendant liable to take an oath, even if the admission was not of the same type of item as the claim. Rabbi Bar Mamo responded, if it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Gamliel, the defendant should be liable to take an oath, even in the first clause of the brayta, where the claim is for an ox and the admission is with regard to a sheep. Ella hamani, ella hamani, ella hamani, ella hamani, ella hamani. Admonu, admonhi. If admon again. ולא דחי מנחנה לאחר תמוד ארוכו בפיו של רבי יוחנן אמר אדמונו אבוני. Rabbi Chia bar Abba explained, rather in accordance with whose opinion is this? It is in accordance with the opinion of Admon, who holds that the admission must be of the same type as the claim, and maintains nevertheless that in a case where one claims that another owes him jugs of oil, and the latter claims that he owes him jugs but not the oil, the defendant is liable to take an oath. See 38b. And I am not dismissing your objections insubstantially, rather it is a set tradition in the mouth of Rabbi Yochanan, who would say, in accordance with whose opinion is this Braita? It is in accordance with the opinion of Admon. Amar of Anan, Amar Shmuel, Ta'anochi Din Kadam Hoda Lo B'Sarin, Im Kemarim Chayav, Kemekaven Pato. That Rav Anan says that Shmuel says if one intended to claim from another wheat and barley and claimed that he owes him wheat, and before he finished his claim, the defendant first admitted that he owes him barley. In this case, if the defendant did so as one who employs artifice so that he would be exempt from taking an oath concerning the wheat, he is liable to take an oath. But if he did so as one who intends to respond to the claim without any ulterior motive, he is exempt. Rav Anan Amar Shmuel, but Amar Rav Anan Amar Shmuel, Ta'ano b'shnei mechatim v'hoda lo me'achat mehem chayav levi chayatzu kelim lama shehen. And Rav Anan says that Shmuel says if one claimed that another owes him 2 needles and the latter admitted to owing him one of them, he is liable to take an oath. It is for this reason that vessels were singled out in the verse to teach that one is liable to take an oath in the case of admission to part of a claim involving vessels of any value. Amar Rav Papa Ta'anochi Nuhuda Yehoshua b'chelim Yichafar b'bruta patur v'hoda b'bruta v'chavar b'kelim chayav. Rav Papa says if one claimed that another owes him vessels and also one pruta, and the latter admitted to owing him the vessels but denied the claim that he owes him the pruta, he is exempt from taking an oath. If he admitted that he owes him one pruta but denied the claim that he owes him the vessels, he is liable to take an oath. Chada kerav v'chada k'shmuel. Chada kerav de'amar kefiras ta'ana shtei kesef chada k'shmuel de'amar ta'ano chitim v'so'erin v'chada lo v'yachas mihen chayah. The Gemara comments, one of these rulings is in accordance with the opinion of Rav, and the other is in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel. The former one, that if the opinion denied owing the pruta, he is exempt, is in accordance with the opinion of Rav, who says that the denial of the claim must be of at least the value of 2 silver ma'ah in order to render the defendant liable to take an oath. The latter one, that if he denied owing the vessel, he is liable to take an oath, is in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel, who says that if one claimed that another owes him both wheat and barley, and the latter admitted to owing him one of them, he is liable to take an oath. Mana li biyadecha ein lecha biyadi patu Amar Rav Nachman Mashpino so Shevuos heset my time machazaka ein adam tovea ella imkein yeshlo alav. The Mishnah teaches that if the claimant said, I have 100 dinars in your possession, and the defendant responded, nothing of yours is in my possession, he is exempt. Rav Nachman says, and the court administers an oath of inducement, a hesed, an oath instituted by the sages to him. What is the reason? There is a presumption that one does not make a claim unless he has a valid case against the other party. Therefore, even though there is no admission to part of the claim, the defendant's denial should be examined through an oath. Adraba chazaka ein adam meiz panav ifnei ba'al choivoi ish demote hu deka mishtamek le savar ad dehave li upra'ana le. The Gemara objects, on the contrary, there is a presumption that a person does not exhibit insolence by lying in the presence of his creditor to deny the entire debt. Therefore, the defendant's denial of the entire claim suggests that he is telling the truth. The Gemara answers that a debtor's categorical denial is not necessarily out of insolence. He may be temporarily avoiding paying him. He rationalizes doing so by saying to himself, I am avoiding him only until the time that I have enough money, and then I will repay him. Tida de Amar Rav Idi Bar Avin Amar Rav Chizda Kofer Milva Kasher le'edus b'pikadon pasul le'edus. Know that denial of a debt is not considered an outright lie, As Rav Idi Bar Avin says, the Rav Chisda says, one who denies a claim with regard to a loan is fit to bear witness even if his denial is proven untrue. By contrast, one who denies a claim with regard to a deposit and is proven to be lying is disqualified from bearing witness. The distinction is clearly based on the aforementioned reasoning. A debtor who denies the debt may be avoiding payment until he has enough money, whereas a bailee who denies having been given a deposit clearly intends to steal the item. Rav Chaviva, Masniya Seifa, Manali Biadecha Amar Lo, Hein Lemachar Amar Lo, Tenehu Li, Netativ Lach, Bator, the Amar of Nachman, Mashbi'inoto Shvuot Heset. Rav Chaviva teaches Rav Nachman's statement as referring to the latter clause of the Mishnah. If one said to another, I have 100 dinars in your possession, and the latter said to him, yes, and the next day the claimant said to him, give the money to me, and the defendant responded, I already gave it to you, he is exempt. And Rav Nachman says, nevertheless, the court administers an oath of inducement to him. Man the call shekena sefer. The Gemara explains the difference between the two versions of Rav Nachman's statement with regard to the one who teaches it in reference to the former clause, where the defendant denied the existence of the debt. All the more so does this Amora agree that an oath of inducement is administered in the case of the latter clause, where the defendant admitted to the existence of the debt and merely claimed that he paid it.